President Donald Trump used Labor Day weekend to draw attention to what he described as one of the greatest achievements of his economic agenda, nearly $10 trillion in new investments aimed at boosting American workers. Speaking through his team while spending the holiday weekend with his family at Trump National Virginia Golf Course, the former president sought to use the moment as both a celebration of labor and a statement about the economic future he envisions under his leadership. The White House spokeswoman Taylor Rogers emphasized in a statement that Trump's economic vision has always been centered on workers, not just corporations or elites. President Trump believes that American workers are the heart and soul of our economy, which is why he's championed an agenda that always puts them first, from signing the largest middle-class tax cuts in history to securing nearly $10 trillion in new investments to create high-paying jobs across our country. The numbers she cited were staggering, a figure so large that it instantly grabbed headlines and drew both admiration from his supporters and skepticism from his critics. But beyond the big number, the statement carried a message. Trump wanted to remind the country that he sees himself as a builder of wealth and opportunity for ordinary citizens, particularly as debates about the direction of the economy continue to dominate political discourse. Labor Day has always been a symbolic moment in American politics. It's not only a holiday to honor the contributions of workers but also a stage where politicians make appeals to the working class. By tying his message of $10 trillion in investments to the holiday, Trump attempted to cement the idea that his policies have already created unprecedented growth and that he is the champion of American labor. For him, this wasn't just about touting statistics, it was about reinforcing his long-standing brand as a businessman who knows how to make deals and drive prosperity. The number itself, $10 trillion, deserves a closer look. Supporters argue that it reflects not just direct federal investments but also private sector commitments, foreign capital flowing into American industries, and large-scale infrastructure, technology, and energy projects launched during and after Trump's tenure. By framing it as new investments, his camp sought to claim credit for a wide-ranging economic boom, suggesting that his policies, deregulation, tax cuts, trade renegotiations, and emphasis on American manufacturing, created conditions where businesses felt confident to pour money back into the United States. For workers, this would theoretically translate into millions of jobs, higher wages, and better living standards. Critics, however, immediately questioned the accuracy of the number. Economic analysts pointed out that it is difficult to measure exactly how much new investment can be attributed directly to Trump's policies versus natural market cycles, global recovery trends, and technological advancements that were already underway. For them, the $10 trillion claim sounded more like campaign rhetoric than a precise economic calculation. But whether exact or inflated, the power of the statement lies in its emotional appeal. It paints a picture of abundance, growth, and a booming America that resonates with many voters who want to feel optimistic about their future. This is not the first time Trump has leaned heavily on numbers to make his case. During his first term, he repeatedly emphasized record highs in the stock market, low unemployment rates, and rising wages, particularly for minority groups, as proof of his economic stewardship. He often positioned himself against his political opponents by saying that under his leadership, America prospered in ways unseen in decades. For his supporters, this became a central narrative: Trump equals growth, Trump equals jobs, Trump equals wealth for the everyday American. Labor Day offered a unique chance to revive that narrative. After years of economic turbulence caused by the pandemic, global inflation, and supply chain disruptions, many Americans are still uncertain about their financial future. By putting forward the idea of $10 trillion in investments, Trump is not only highlighting past achievements but also suggesting a roadmap for what a second Trump presidency could deliver. It's a promise wrapped in a statistic: if the past brought trillions, the future could bring even more. His decision to spend the holiday at his golf course with family also fits the image he has carefully cultivated over the years, that of a successful businessman who enjoys the fruits of his labor while staying in touch with his base. Unlike the more formal White House ceremonies or stiff political appearances, Trump's Labor Day weekend was both personal and political, a blend of family time and subtle campaigning. The golf course itself serves as a symbol, a luxurious setting tied to his brand, yet also a place where deals are made and relationships are built. By being seen there, he reinforces the persona of the billionaire dealmaker who never truly leaves the business world, even when in politics. The idea of tying investments to workers also reflects Trump's broader political strategy. From the beginning of his political career, He has emphasized America first, which meant not just foreign policy shifts but also economic policies that prioritize domestic jobs over outsourcing. He consistently criticized trade deals like NAFTA and celebrated the renegotiated USMCA as a win for American labor. He put tariffs on foreign steel and aluminum, arguing that protecting domestic industries was key to securing good-paying jobs. And he spoke often about revitalizing coal, oil, and manufacturing, industries that had long felt left behind by globalization and environmental regulations. For his supporters in states like Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Michigan, these promises were music to their ears. At the same time, his critics argue that while some sectors benefited, others were harmed by trade wars and tariffs, and that not all of his promises translated into long-term gains. They note that while job growth was strong in some areas, automation and shifting global markets continue to pose challenges. Still, the emotional resonance of Trump's economic message often matters more than the fine print. His ability to frame himself as the defender of American workers has been one of his most consistent political strengths. On this Labor Day, the 10 trillion figure also served another purpose. It positioned Trump as someone who not only talks about economic theory but delivers tangible results. In contrast to traditional politicians who make vague promises about helping workers, Trump can point to specific numbers, deals, and projects. Whether or not one accepts the exact figures, the storytelling power is undeniable. It allows him to say, "Look at what I've already done. Imagine what more I can do." That kind of message is particularly effective in a political climate where people crave certainty and results. For the broader political landscape, Trump's message also puts pressure on his rivals. If he can dominate the narrative about economic growth and jobs, it forces other candidates to respond, either by challenging his numbers, offering their own economic visions, or trying to shift the conversation to other issues like healthcare, education, or foreign policy. By making such a bold claim, Trump effectively sets the terms of debate. Even if critics spend time trying to debunk the $10 trillion figure, they are still talking about him, his policies, and his supposed successes. The Labor Day message also fits into Trump's long-term strategy of framing himself as the inevitable leader of the working-class movement in America. While Democrats have traditionally aligned themselves with unions and blue-collar workers, Trump has successfully peeled away significant portions of that base by emphasizing issues like trade, immigration, and manufacturing. His message resonates particularly with white working-class voters who feel alienated by globalization and cultural shifts. By tying his message to Labor Day, he reminds them that he is on their side, the billionaire who nonetheless understands and fights for the average worker. From a political communications perspective, it's worth noting how carefully the message was crafted. Taylor Rogers, his spokeswoman, used language designed to appeal to both emotion and reason. She described workers as the heart and soul of the economy, a phrase that elevates their role while also sounding patriotic and unifying. She then tied that sentiment directly to Trump's actions, tax cuts, investments, and job creation. By doing so, she created a narrative arc: workers are vital, Trump recognizes that, and here is the proof of what he has delivered. It's simple, effective, and memorable. But for all the messaging, the real test lies in how Americans perceive their own financial reality. $10 trillion in investments may sound impressive, but for most families, what matters is whether they feel secure in their jobs, whether their wages keep up with inflation, whether they can afford healthcare, housing, and education. If Trump can connect the big number to those day-to-day experiences, his message will resonate even more powerfully. If not, critics may succeed in portraying it as empty boasting. Still, the timing of the announcement shows Trump's political instincts at work. Labor Day is not just a holiday, it's also seen as the unofficial start of the fall political season. By grabbing headlines now, Trump sets the stage for the months ahead. He reminds voters of his economic credentials just as campaigns and debates are beginning to heat up. For his base, it's a reaffirmation of why they support him. For undecided voters, it's a data point that might make them reconsider his record. And for his opponents, it's a challenge they must respond to. The image of Trump on the golf course also plays into the narrative of strength and leisure combined. His supporters see it as proof of his success and confidence, a leader who has built wealth and can now enjoy it, while still working behind the scenes for the country. His critics, on the other hand, often portray his golf outings as indulgent or out of touch. But regardless of interpretation, the image itself is powerful and consistent with the Trump brand. As the Labor Day weekend came to a close, the message lingered: Trump wants to be seen not just as a politician but as a builder, a provider, a man who has already delivered trillions in investments and who promises to do even more. Whether or not one accepts the exact numbers, the narrative is clear. He is once again positioning himself as the champion of American workers, the leader who puts labor at the center of his vision for the economy, and the only candidate who can deliver prosperity on such a massive scale. For many Americans, the debate over Trump's Labor Day message will continue in the weeks and months ahead. Supporters will celebrate the numbers as proof of his success, critics will question their validity, and analysts will dig into the details. But in the world of politics, perception often matters as much as reality. And on this Labor Day, Trump succeeded in shaping perception, reminding the country of his past achievements, laying claim to an economic legacy, and presenting himself as the man who can once again bring jobs, growth, and opportunity to the American people.